first off, let's start with India. I mean, the agricultural reform that we've seen so far, how much of a game changer is that?
It's really important. The poorest people in India are the farmers, and the Prime Minister has been committed for the last 5 years talking about how we can double the farmer income. And all these reforms are sort of lining up towards giving the freedom to operate for farmers. And obviously, the traders in the villages are getting impacted. And a lot of the trade flows will change where farmers can now directly sell products to companies rather than through local trading hubs, the APMCs. These sort of things are going to disrupt the conventional supply chain, which was going on for a long time, and corporates have been complaining for a long time that even if they want to pay farmers more money for their goods and sign long-term contracts, they can't do that because of the whole traditional APMC Act. And the government has been trying for the last 4 or 5 years to find ways to improve income and for the farmers. And this has the existing law was blocking that. It sort of created local environment, and naturally there are people who are going to be impacted. That is the principle of the new law. And in Punjab, where there is MSP, which is the minimum support price, there is a bit concern because the state government may also lose some revenues. But in all, I think the government is trying to find ways to increase farmers' income through technology and through better pricing and a transparent pricing policy where farmers can really see what's the maximum value they can get.
Speaking of farmers' income, we've seen how food prices, food commodities, the prices have increased since the start of the pandemic, and that's prompted the likes of Indian farmers to increase their crop area. Do you see that being replicated elsewhere in the world, and what does that mean necessarily for your own business?
Yes, I think commodity prices have been climbing steadily. I think the pandemic has caused a little bit of concern with most governments and food security. So everybody is stocking up on food, and this has led to improvement in crop prices. It's a good time. Our business sort of trends to grow much faster when commodity prices are higher, where farmers are really maximizing the yields. We expect it to be a good year. We expect next year to be a good year because, in general, commodity prices are good. A lot of large farmers around the world are already selling their futures. And I think the environment for agriculture looks very positive right now.
Jai, I want to get a sense of the pandemic itself and what it has done in your industry. Has it created any opportunities for M&A, for instance?
The pandemic actually really helped everybody focus on food supply chains, and all the governments who were actually not focusing on food value chains and their own production have started refocusing on strategies to have self-sufficiency. This is important because we believe that people were taking food supply chain very lightly. And even if you look at West Africa, they're very concerned about rice imports. If you look at even Europe, the French government also tried to reform some of the laws about use of products on the farm. And all the governments around the world are actually focusing on self-sufficiency as much as possible. And this is direct correlation to the initial period of the pandemic, where some of the countries around the world actually started to withdraw from the export markets, and there was a big concern. As far as M&A is concerned, I think the industry is doing better. I believe there will be consolidation, ongoing consolidation. UPL has just made a very large acquisition about 20 months ago or so, and we are in the process of integrating the whole the business. So currently we aren't looking at acquisitions. We would probably look at smaller distribution companies around the world, but nothing major.
Okay, so we got that, but I just want to dial back to the protest by farmers in India itself. Now, you're suggesting it would make them easier, and it's actually looking from a corporate standpoint, a much more efficient solution being put on the table by the government. But what do the farmers themselves dislike about these reforms in particular?
I think there is a little bit of ambiguity. I think some of the fine print they don't like. Successive governments have talked about reforming this law. Successive governments have tried. Prime Minister Modi has had the courage to go ahead and move that. I think in principle, everybody agrees that we need reform in agriculture, and we need reform to make sure that this law is modernized to today's environment. And but there are certain the fine print is something which I'm sure the government is considering that and will do whatever it takes to make the farmers happy, because they've actually done a lot to support agriculture. Prime Minister Modi has been very, very focused on the upliftment of the poor people in India, and farmers are the poorest people. So I don't see this as, I think there is a miscommunication, and it's become a little bit of a political issue, and I'm sure that they will be able to resolve it very soon.
Jai, Latin America is a very important market for you, contributes the most to your revenue, but it's also pretty volatile when you take a look at the currencies impacting your profitability at the same time. How do you view this, and how do you juggle the two?
Yes, operating in 130 countries is a challenge. Currency volatility is something which we've learned to manage. It's part of our DNA over the last 30 years. We've really focused on understanding that we, underlying commodities, soybean, corn, cotton, some of the large commodities from Argentina, Brazil are dollarized. They trade in dollars. So the farmers actually in hyperinflation markets are quite secure. If they do not have leverage in the wrong currency, they tend to be okay, and the cash flows are always in dollars. So in a very turbulent times, I've always found that the food systems operate in a pretty they are pretty stable. So in principle, Argentina, Brazil, whether you look at Chile, these countries are exporters of food, and those exports takes place. So the government actually protects them quite well and makes sure that their massive foreign exchange income stream doesn't get disrupted. So we do okay during turbulent times.
Right. Jai, sustainability has become quite a theme among investors, among businesses. How are you taking that into consideration when making your decisions? What steps are you taking?
UPL was just ranked the #1 in our sector in ESG by Sustainalytics, and we're very proud of that. Coming from India and our DNA coming from India, we've actually really focused on smallholder farmers, and we have done a lot to make sure that we bring in technology to make them more resilient. UPL is focused on farmer resilience. We focus on technologies. We've invested for the last 10 years. We've always seen that the farmers are hugely impacted by any kind of change, including climate change, as you said, currency, pests, disease, droughts. And how do you create a resilience for farmers is what we have focused on. And we've developed a lot of technology to help farmers fight the impacts of climate change, like reduction in the impact of short-term droughts, which is more prevalent now, too much rain, which is also now more prevalent than it was before. So we have a whole portfolio of technologies, and UPL is the largest producer in the world of biosolutions. Today we have a huge portfolio, and we offer a whole portfolio of products which we sort of sell in combination with the traditional chemicals. That business for us is growing sort of in the 20% area, and we are very excited about the research going on there.
Jai, quickly here, sustainability, of course, one of those things. What about plant-based foods now, meats, if you will, impossible for one thing? How involved are you with that, and how is it actually affecting your revenues?
Yep, that's a big movement. Currently not very big in terms of actual usage of food. It's a trend, and it should be very positive for the farmers around the world if plant-based food increases. Obviously, the meat consumption will drop, and a huge amount of corn gets consumed for meat production. But I believe that food consumption around the world will continue to grow, and we don't expect there to be too much impact on that on our business.